Hi.
Alright, so I never thought I'd be writing one of these, but here we are. I'm not looking for sympathy, just getting this out of my system. Maybe someone out there will see the red flags I ignored and save themselves some heartache. So, my wife, let's call her Lisa, started acting weird a couple of months ago. At first, it was little things. She'd put her phone face down, take it with her everywhere, even to the bathroom, and suddenly have all these late meetings at work. Lisa has always been a bit secretive with her phone, so I didn't think much of it at first. Then, she started asking strange questions. Stuff like, hey, do we have all our financial documents in one place? Or, can you remind me of our bank login? That one stopped me in my tracks. We've been married for 7 years, and she has never once cared about our finances beyond making sure her favorite subscription boxes kept getting delivered. I played dumb, shrugged it off, and told her I'd handle it. But in the back of my mind, something was off. Then, one night, I overheard her talking on the phone in the kitchen. She was whispering, but I caught a few words, stuff like, it's almost ready, and starting fresh soon. My stomach dropped. My first thought was that she was cheating, but something about the way she said it made me feel like this was bigger than that. I had to know what was going on. I decided to keep my mouth shut and start paying attention. And let me tell you, the more I watched, the worse it got. After overhearing that phone call, I knew I had to be smart. If Lisa was planning something, I couldn't tip her off that I was onto her. So, I started playing the clueless husband. The next morning, over breakfast, she acted completely normal, smiling, asking about my day, even giving me a quick kiss before leaving for work. But I noticed something: her wedding ring was missing. Lisa never took it off. I casually asked, hey, where's your ring? She glanced at her hand like she hadn't even noticed and laughed. Oh, must have forgotten to put it on after my shower. I smiled and nodded, but inside? I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. That night, I decided to check our shared laptop. Lisa mostly used her phone, but I figured if she was up to something, maybe she slipped up somewhere. And oh boy, she did. I checked the browser history, mostly normal stuff, but then I saw searches like, how to fairly divide assets in divorce. What happens if one spouse hides money before filing? Steps to separate finances before divorce. My hands were shaking at that point. I clicked on her email, and sure enough, she had been in contact with a divorce lawyer. 2 emails, both marked as unread, probably so I wouldn't notice. The first was her introducing herself and asking for advice. The second one? A response saying they'd be happy to discuss her case and outlining the first steps. I just sat there, staring at the screen, my mind racing. She hadn't filed yet, but she was planning it. And from the way she was acting, she wanted me to be completely in the dark until she was ready to drop the bomb. That's when it hit me: she was trying to set me up. That's why she suddenly cared about our finances. She wanted me to gather everything in one place so she could make her move. Well, if she was planning something, then so was I. The second I realized what Lisa was up to, I knew I had to act fast. She was trying to get her ducks in a row, thinking I was too blind to notice. But now that I knew the game, I wasn't about to let her take me for a fool. The first thing I did was get my finances in order. I had a personal savings account from before we got married, money she didn't have access to. I transferred a chunk of my paycheck there instead of our joint account. Nothing huge, just enough so it wouldn't raise suspicion but would give me a safety net. Then, I started looking at our assets. We had a joint checking account, a couple of credit cards, and a mortgage on the house. Lisa didn't work full-time. She had a side business selling crafts online, but I was the one covering most of our bills. If she thought she could walk away and leave me high and dry, she had another thing coming. That weekend, I accidentally brought up a story about a friend who went through a nasty divorce. Man, his wife tried to screw him over financially, I said casually while we were watching TV. But he moved his money early and got a great lawyer before she could do anything. I watched Lisa's face carefully. She didn't say much, just nodded and kept her eyes on the screen, but I saw the way her fingers clenched around her phone. She knew I was onto something. That night, I checked our laptop again. The emails to her lawyer were gone. She had deleted them. That's when I knew I had really messed up her plans. After Lisa deleted those emails, I knew she was scrambling. She must have realized I was getting suspicious. But instead of backing off, she doubled down. The next morning, she was suddenly the perfect wife. She made me breakfast, from scratch. Lisa never did that. She kissed me before I left for work. She texted me, I love you, in the middle of the day. I mean, come on. A week ago, she was barely looking me in the eye, and now she's acting like we're in a honeymoon phase? It was so fake it almost made me laugh. Then, that night, she brought up the finances again. We were sitting on the couch, and out of nowhere, she goes, hey, I was thinking, maybe we should just consolidate all our bank stuff. Make things easier. I played dumb. What do you mean? She smiled, too wide. You know, just put all our accounts in one place. One joint savings, one joint checking, that kind of thing. Just so we're on the same page. Oh, she was good. But I was better. I scratched my head and pretended to think about it. Maybe. But I like having some money separate, just in case of emergencies. She didn't like that answer. Her smile faltered for half a second before she forced it back. Yeah, but I mean, we're married. We should trust each other with everything, right? Trust? From the woman secretly planning a divorce behind my back? I shrugged. You're right. Let's talk about it later. Then I turned back to the TV like I didn't have a care in the world. I could practically feel her frustration. The next day, I started moving things. I withdrew some cash. I locked down my personal accounts. I changed my direct deposit settings so my paycheck would go into my private savings instead of our joint account. And I made an appointment with a lawyer. Lisa wanted to play games? Fine. But she had no idea I had already flipped the board. A few days passed, and I kept playing dumb. Lisa was still in perfect wife mode, but I could tell she was getting impatient. She wasn't just trying to butter me up anymore, she was pushing. Every night, she'd casually bring up something about finances. Hey, I was reading about investment accounts today. Do we have any? Have you checked our credit card points? We should redeem them soon. Do you still have that old savings account from before we got married? She was fishing hard. And every time, I just shrugged and acted clueless. But I knew one thing, she was desperate to know if I had moved my money. Then came the first real crack in her act. I had just gotten home from work, and Lisa was sitting on the couch, staring at her phone. She didn't say hi like usual. Didn't come over and kiss me. Just sat there, scrolling. So, I tested something. I walked past her and mumbled, "Man, work was rough today. I should probably check my bank account, make sure I have enough for that business trip next month." Lisa's head snapped up. I didn't even move toward my laptop, just said the words, and she suddenly perked up like a hunting dog that just caught a scent. "Oh? You need help with that?" she asked, way too fast. I pretended not to notice. "Nah, I got it." I walked into the bedroom, closed the door, and watched through the crack. Not even 5 seconds later, she grabbed her phone and started texting someone. That was it. I was done playing around. I pulled out my own phone and texted my lawyer, "We need to meet ASAP. I think she's making her move." At this point, I knew Lisa was up to something big. The way she kept pressing about finances, the way she reacted when I mentioned my bank account, it was all adding up. I just didn't know how soon she was planning to make her move. I didn't have to wait long to find out. That weekend, she said she was going to visit her sister. Normally, I wouldn't think twice about it, but after everything? I had a feeling this was not a normal trip. So, I did something I never thought I'd do. I checked our shared phone plan. Now, before anyone calls me paranoid, hear me out. Lisa and I had a family plan, and it showed recent call and text logs, not the content, just the numbers and timestamps. And what I saw? It made my stomach drop. The same unknown number. Over and over. She had been calling someone almost every day for weeks. And the last call? For minutes before she told me she was going to her sister's. I had two choices, sit at home and wait for the bomb to drop, or do some digging. I chose the second. I called her sister. "Hey, just checking in, Lisa made it there safe, right?" I asked, keeping my voice light. A pause. Then, her sister hesitated. Lisa's not here." Boom. I forced a laugh. "Oh, weird. Maybe I misunderstood. Where is she?" Her sister fumbled. I don't know. Maybe she stopped somewhere first?" Lies. Bad ones. I thanked her and hung up. My hands were shaking. Lisa had lied straight to my face. And I had a pretty damn good idea why. The second I hung up, my heart was pounding. Lisa wasn't at her sister's. She had lied, and based on the way her sister hesitated, she knew something but wasn't willing to spill. I had two choices, sit back and wait for whatever was coming, or find out for myself. I grabbed my keys and left. Now, I wasn't about to go full spy mode, but I had an idea of where Lisa might be. There was a little cafe in town she used to meet friends at, and it was also where she had met with a financial advisor before we got married. If she was making divorce moves, it seemed like the kind of place she'd go. I pulled into the parking lot, scanning the tables outside. And there she was. Lisa was sitting in a corner booth inside, talking to a man in a suit. I stayed in my car, just watching. She was leaning in, nodding, her hands moving as she spoke. The guy? He looked too comfortable, relaxed, smiling. Not a lawyer. Not a financial advisor. A boyfriend. My blood ran cold. I pulled out my phone and snapped a picture through the windshield. Then I waited. 30 minutes later, Lisa hugged him. Not a quick, friendly hug, a lingering one. She rested her head against his shoulder for a second before pulling away. I saw red. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was so much worse. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My mind was racing. This wasn't just about a divorce. Lisa was cheating. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. I needed proof. Hard proof. Lisa and the guy, whoever he was, walked out of the cafe, still talking. He touched her back as they walked toward the parking lot, and she let him. She smiled at him like she used to smile at me. I snapped another picture. Then, just as they reached their cars, Lisa did something that sealed it. She looked around, checking her surroundings, before grabbing his hand and squeezing it. Then, she leaned in and kissed him. It wasn't some innocent peck, either. It was slow. Familiar. Intimate. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. I sat there, numb, watching as they finally got into their separate cars and drove off. Lisa had no idea I had seen everything. She had no idea her whole plan had just blown up in her face. I didn't go home right away. I needed to think. I needed to figure out my next move. Because one thing was clear, Lisa had been playing me. And now? It was my turn to play her. I sat in my car for almost an hour, replaying everything in my head. Every little moment, every fake smile, every innocent question about finances, it all made sense now. Lisa wasn't just planning to leave me. She was planning to rob me blind. And she was doing it while sneaking around with another man. The realization made my stomach turn, but after the initial shock wore off, something else settled in. Cold. Hard. Rage. I had given her everything. Years of my life. Love. Support. And in return? She had been planning this behind my back, smiling in my face while she lined up her next life. She thought she was smart. She thought she had everything under control. She had no idea who she was dealing with. The plan. I drove to a nearby parking lot and pulled out my phone. First, I forwarded the pictures I had taken to a private folder. Then, I called my lawyer. "Hey, I need to speed things up," I said the moment he picked up. "I figured you might," he replied. He had already suspected Lisa was up to something shady. "She's cheating." I caught her. A pause. Then, he let out a slow breath. "That changes things. Do you want to go the aggressive route?" "Absolutely." We talked for nearly an hour. He laid out what I needed to do next. The biggest takeaway? I needed to stay quiet. If Lisa had any clue I was onto her, she'd start covering her tracks. So, I played the game. I went home that night like nothing had happened. Lisa was already there, curled up on the couch, scrolling on her phone. "Hey, babe," she said, giving me a smile that almost made me laugh. I walked over, kissed her on the forehead, and said, "Long day. I'm exhausted." If she felt guilty, she didn't show it. I went to bed early, pretending to be too tired for anything. Meanwhile, Lisa stayed up on her phone, probably texting her little boyfriend about how clueless I was. She had no idea I was already 10 steps ahead. Cutting her off. The next morning, I made moves. I transferred all my personal funds to an account she didn't know about. The joint account still had money in it, just enough so she wouldn't get suspicious. I removed her as an authorized user on my credit cards. I'd let her keep using them for a little longer, just so she wouldn't notice, but when the time was right, declined. I started pulling every financial record I could find. If she thought she was walking away with half of everything, she was in for a surprise. I changed the locks on my safe. Lisa didn't know the combination, but I wasn't taking chances. Then, I started gathering evidence. I wasn't just going to divorce Lisa. I was going to ruin her. I went through our laptop again, checking for anything useful. Old messages. Deleted files. I even checked her cloud storage. And let me tell you, people are lazy when it comes to covering their tracks. I found a folder labeled Personal. Inside? Screenshots of her texts with her boyfriend. A draft email to her lawyer, listing every asset we owned. A document titled Separation Plan, with notes about timing the divorce right so she could take more money. She wasn't just planning to leave. She was trying to bleed me dry. That was it. She wanted war? She had won. Letting her dig her own grave. Over the next week, I kept up the act. I acted normal. I even started being extra affectionate, bringing her coffee in bed, planning date nights. I wanted her to think she had nothing to worry about. And it worked. Lisa let her guard down. She stopped being so careful with her phone. She started going out more, thinking I was completely oblivious. One night, she came home late and tried to sneak into bed without waking me. I pretended to stir, groggily asking, "Good night?" She froze for a second before forcing a yawn. Yeah, just a long dinner with my sister. Her sister. The same one who had already exposed her lie. I almost laughed. Instead, I rolled over and mumbled, "Love you." She hesitated. Then, softly, "Love you too." The last piece of the puzzle. By the end of the week, I had everything I needed. Proof of her affair. Proof that she was trying to manipulate our finances before filing. Screenshots, emails, and her own words documenting her little scheme. All I had to do was wait. Because Lisa thought she was in control. She thought she was the one about to blindside me. What she didn't know. I had already won. At this point, I had everything. Proof of her affair. Proof she was trying to screw me over financially. And the best part? She had no clue I knew. Lisa thought she was the mastermind, the one carefully planning her escape. But in reality? She was walking straight into her own downfall. I wasn't going to stop her. I was going to let her fall. Waiting for the right moment. I spent the next few days acting like the perfect husband. I made dinner. I asked about her girls' nights. I even surprised her with flowers one evening, just to watch her squirm. She was trying so hard to keep up the act, but I could see the cracks forming. One night, while she was in the shower, her phone lit up on the nightstand. I casually glanced over. It was him. "Miss you already. Can't wait for our weekend together, red heart." I clenched my jaw, but I didn't touch the phone. Let her have her weekend. Let her dig her grave. Springing the trap. I called my lawyer and told him it was time. "We file next week," I said. "You sure?" he asked. "You could wait, gather more." "No. She's going on a trip this weekend with her boyfriend. I want her served while she's with him." Silence. Then, a chuckle. "Savage. I like it." The setup. That Friday morning, Lisa was glowing. She packed light, dressed cute, and gave me a fake sad smile. "I'll miss you, babe," she cooed, kissing my cheek. I almost laughed in her face. Instead, I kissed her back. "Miss you too." She walked out the door, completely unaware that her life was about to collapse. The moment it all came crashing down. Saturday morning. I sat at home, drinking coffee, waiting for the call. And right on schedule, my lawyer sent me the text. "She's been served." I smiled. I could picture it perfectly, Lisa, sitting at some cozy little cafe with her boyfriend, probably laughing, thinking she had won. And then, a process server walking up, handing her the papers in front of her new man. Imagine the shock. The panic. The realization that she wasn't the one in control. I wish I could have seen her face. The aftermath. It didn't take long for my phone to start blowing up. At first, Lisa tried calling. I ignored it. Then, the text started. "What the hell is this? We need to talk now. Why would you do this? Please call me." Oh, now she wanted to talk? Too bad. I was done talking. She didn't get to plan my downfall behind my back and then act shocked when I turned the tables. So, I did the one thing that would drive her insane. I blocked her. The best part? Because of the way I handled it, moving my money early, documenting her behavior, she got nothing. She tried to fight for more, but my lawyer shut it down fast. She had zero leverage. Her plan backfired completely. Her boyfriend? Dumped her right after. Turns out, guys looking for fun don't usually want to deal with messy divorces. As for me? I walked away free. Lisa thought she was about to start a fresh new life. Instead, she ended up with nothing. And I? I ended up winning. After Lisa got served, I expected anger. Screaming. Maybe even some grand dramatic stunt where she showed up at my doorstep demanding answers. Instead? Silence. At first. I knew she wouldn't stay quiet for long. She was probably too busy dealing with the humiliation of getting divorce papers handed to her while she was with her boyfriend. That alone must have been a nightmare for her. But by Monday morning? She cracked. The meltdown begins. I was at work when the emails started rolling in. At first, they were pathetic. "I'm so sorry. We need to talk. Please, just give me a chance to explain. I never wanted this to happen like this. Please don't just throw everything away." Oh, now she didn't want to throw everything away? I ignored them. Then, the tone shifted. "You blindsided me. How could you be so cruel? You're making a huge mistake. We could have worked things out. But you just had to be petty." Petty? Petty? This coming from the woman who tried to screw me over financially while sneaking around with another man? I just sat back, sipping my coffee, watching her spiral. The bombshell from her boyfriend. That afternoon, I got an unexpected message. From him. The guy she was cheating with. "Dude, I had no idea she was still with you. I swear. She told me you guys were already separated. I'm so sorry, man. I ended things with her." I actually laughed. Lisa must have panicked after getting served and tried to spin some sob story to keep him around. But it didn't work. The guy dumped her immediately. I didn't even bother responding. Let them both rot. The unraveling. By the end of the week, the silence returned. No more emails. No calls. She was too busy dealing with the consequences. She had to move out. Our house was in my name, and she had no claim to it. She had no access to my money. She thought she was going to take half? She got nothing. She lost her fresh start. Her new boyfriend was gone. Her entire plan backfired. And me? I slept like a baby. One last attempt. A couple of weeks later, just when I thought it was finally over, Lisa made one last, desperate move. I came home from work, and she was waiting for me. Sitting on my front porch. Her hair was a mess. No makeup. Eyes red and puffy like she had been crying for days. For a second, I almost felt bad. Then I remembered why we were here. She looked up at me, sniffling. Can we talk? I crossed my arms. Talk about what? She swallowed hard. Us. I actually chuckled. There is no us. Lisa wiped her eyes, shaking her head. I don't know what I was thinking. I was so stupid. I got caught up in everything, and I ruined the best thing in my life. She reached for my hand. I took a step back. Don't. She bit her lip. Can't we just start over? I stared at her for a long moment. Then, I leaned in slightly and whispered. You already did. Without me. Her face crumbled. I walked past her, into my house, and locked the door behind me. Lisa was finally out of my life. And I? I had never felt lighter. After shutting the door in Lisa's face, I just stood there for a moment, taking it all in. For months, I had been living under this lie, thinking my marriage was real while she was already planning her exit. Now? She was the one left out in the cold. I peeked through the blinds, expecting her to still be sitting there, maybe trying to pull another sob story. But she wasn't. Lisa was gone. And for the first time in a long time, I felt completely free. Her reputation takes a hit. A week passed, and I barely thought about her. I was too busy enjoying my newfound peace. Then, a buddy of mine, one of the few people I had told about the situation, sent me a screenshot. Lisa had made a Facebook post. A long, rambling post about how people change, and how she made mistakes but didn't deserve to be thrown away like trash. She didn't name me directly, but it was so obvious who she was talking about. She was fishing for sympathy. The best part? It backfired. Because people knew. Word had gotten around, friends, family, coworkers. People weren't buying her pity act. In the comments, someone straight up asked, "Didn't you cheat on your husband?" Lisa ignored it. Then someone else chimed in. "He caught you and served you while you were with your side piece, right? LOL. I laughed so hard I almost choked. A message from her sister. A few days later, I got another surprise, a text from Lisa's sister. Hey, I just wanted to say. I had no idea what Lisa was doing. I only found out after everything blew up. I'm sorry. You didn't deserve that. I didn't hold it against her. She had been put in a tough spot. But what she said next. That was gold. Our parents are furious with her. They're embarrassed. She tried moving back home, but Mom and Dad told her she made her bed, so she better lay in it. I grinned. Even her own parents weren't buying her excuses. The final attempt. A month went by. No word from Lisa. Then, out of the blue, I got an email. Subject, one last chance. I almost deleted it without reading, but curiosity got the better of me. Inside was a long, desperate letter. She rambled about how she had lost everything and couldn't stop thinking about me. How she missed our life together and wanted to fix things. She even said she would do anything to make it right. Anything. I just stared at the screen. Then, I hit delete. Lisa had made her choices. And now, she was living with the consequences. Moving on. I never responded. I never looked back. Lisa? She faded into the background, just another mistake in my past. As for me? I finally moved on. No more lies. No more betrayals. Just freedom. And honestly? It felt damn good. Weeks passed. Then months. Lisa became nothing more than a bad memory, a lesson I had to learn the hard way. I focused on myself, hitting the gym more, picking up old hobbies, spending time with friends I had neglected during the mess of my marriage. Life was finally normal again. Then, out of nowhere, I ran into someone I hadn't seen since the divorce. Lisa's ex-boyfriend. The run-in. It happened at a bar downtown. I was out with a couple of friends when I saw him at the counter, drinking alone. He must have felt me staring because he turned, and for a split second, I saw recognition flash across his face. Then? He looked embarrassed. I wasn't going to say anything. I had no reason to. But he hesitated, then stood up and walked over. "Hey, man," he started, looking awkward. Can we talk for a second?" I raised an eyebrow. "About what?" He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "About Lisa." I almost laughed. I hadn't thought about her in weeks, and now her ex-affair partner wanted to talk? "Go ahead," I said, curious where this was going. "The truth comes out." He sat down across from me and took a deep breath. I wanted to say I'm sorry," he said, looking genuinely uncomfortable. "I swear, I didn't know she was still married when we got together. She told me you guys were already separated. I only found out the truth when she got served." I didn't say anything, just watched him squirm. "She lied to me too, man. She made me think I was the only one. But after the divorce? I found out she was seeing another guy on the side. The whole time." Now I really had to fight the urge to laugh. Lisa had cheated on her affair partner. Karma had worked fast. He ran a hand down his face. "She played both of us. I just wanted you to know that." I took a sip of my drink, nodding. "So, what happened after I served her?" He shook his head. "She lost her mind. Tried to convince me to stay, but after everything, I couldn't trust her. I left. And now? She's a mess. No job, no real place to stay. She burned every bridge she had. The last nail in the coffin." I sat there, letting it all sink in. Lisa thought she was playing everyone. Thought she had a perfect plan. Now? She had nothing. No husband. No boyfriend. No financial security. She had destroyed her own life. And me? I was happier than I had been in years. I set my glass down and looked at him. "Well," I said, standing up, "sounds like she got exactly what she deserved." He nodded. "Yeah, she did." I patted him on the shoulder and walked away. Lisa was finally out of my life. And this time, I knew she wasn't coming back. After running into Lisa's ex-boyfriend and hearing how her life had completely collapsed, I felt nothing. No anger. No satisfaction. Just peace. I had already won. But, of course, Lisa wasn't done yet. The last message. A few weeks later, I got a message from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but curiosity got the better of me. It was Lisa. "I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I ruined my life, and I have no one to blame but myself." I stared at the message for a minute. Then another came through. "I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I regret it all. I lost the best thing I ever had." I could have responded. Could have rubbed it in her face. But what was the point? Lisa wasn't my problem anymore. So, I did the one thing I should have done a long time ago. I deleted the message. Then, I blocked her number for good. Moving on for real. That was the last time I ever heard from Lisa. I don't know where she ended up. I don't care. All I know is that I walked away free. She thought she had trapped me. Thought she had control. In the end? She played herself. And me? I got a fresh start. Months passed. Then a year. And you know what? Life had never been better. I traveled. Picked up new hobbies. Met new people. I wasn't just moving on, I was thriving. Meanwhile, Lisa? She faded into the background, just another mistake I barely remembered. Running into an old friend. One evening, I was at a friend's wedding. Laughing, drinking, just having a damn good time. Then, someone tapped my shoulder. I turned and saw Lisa's old best friend. We hadn't talked since the divorce, but she gave me a smirk. "Damn, you look good. Guess losing dead weight suits you." I laughed. "You have no idea." She leaned in. "You probably don't care, but Lisa's a mess. She burned every bridge. No one wants anything to do with her anymore." I just nodded. "Not my problem." She smiled. "You really don't care, do you?" I took a sip of my drink. Not even a little. And that was the moment I knew. I had won. Because the best revenge? Was living a life she could never be part of again.
Goodbye.